Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the SAICE IT Division Annual General Meeting. We welcome you and thanks that you're joining. So some quick house rules, if I can say it like that. Please put your questions and everything in the Q&A area or type it in the chat. Put up your hand if you want to ask a question verbally. We'll get to you and yeah, we'll answer it. So we'll keep our eye on that. And then, yeah, so we can start. I'm Chris du Plessis, the chairperson of the SAICE IT Division. And from the AGM and the IT Division committee, as you can see on the screen, Vice President is Marius, Peter, Debbie, Kibben, and myself. And then we've got Siviwe and William, that is also in the committee. And this was the committee for the year 2024. So from the SAICE IT division, we run about 900 or so members. And this was basically a statistic from the 1st of April. And we currently 903, whereas 736 is students, whereas 512 is on hold because of they have to give information, all those things, because students are free. So those are some of the things that we want to change the students into members and all those type of things so that we can get more traction. The SAICE IT division has grown from 778 to the 903 over the past year or so, which is a 15% increase, which is encouraging. And we would like to see it grow and more active members, of course, as well. So in our year, what we've done, we had a lot of SAICE division meetings where we've discussed points relevant. We've had about 7. In the first one, the SAICE president joined us, and we had some good discussions. And from this committee meetings, we try to plan our agenda and action things we want to do for the year. You'll see a bit later what we wanted to do. But events held in 2024, we were part of the Expo for Young Scientists and Special Awards, and also see in the financials we sponsored some money for the winner. From there, we also had some webinars and attended some things like the Future Leadership Panel Roadshow. Marius, our vice chair, has attended and did a presentation on adoption and implementation of BIM-enabled technologies for contractors' journey. Furthermore, he also did a presentation for us in empowering civil engineering and construction, the collaboration technologies. So that was also CPD accredited. Furthermore, we did, in October, we did a presentation, Johannes Netling from the Western Cape did a presentation, Innovation and Digital Solutions for Transport Infrastructure, which was also a very good presentation. We also attended a branch AGM where we presented, the IT division presented on digital transformation and the link to digital twins. And of course, today we've got also a presentation after our AGM in terms of equipping engineers for the digital future. So just to take a little bit of a step back, in our AGM in February for this 2024, we started a bit late, but we addressed and we said we're planning 20 sessions, and we were tackling it for the digitization process, and there was 10 of them that we've identified, and also digitalization in the processes which we wanted to tackle. Now you'll see we don't get all of them right, and we don't get exact presentations, because it's all dependent on getting people to present and getting the webinars done. So it's timing and all those type of things. But this is still on our line, and we would still like to do that. So please, if anybody feel that they've got some information, please put their hand up, do a presentation, and we can share and we can grow together. So from that, we also already identified some lectures for our 2024-25 year, for next year. The presenters already been lined up. We've had discussions with them. It's just getting a time slot where we're going to discuss open data and open standards, BIM information modeling, CIDBs, BIM transformation, cybersecurity, automated surveying, and system engineering. And also we'll do the ESCOM Young Scientists. And then, of course, if there is any questions or any activities that we could do and we can get involved in, yeah, please contact, and we'll see what we can assist with. So that was all our activities and all of that. So I'm going to ask our treasurer, Cuban, to present on the finances. Cuban, you're there, you'll present.
Thank you, Christopher. Okay. Good afternoon, colleagues. I won't be very long. It's about 6 slides that I'm going to go through. So I'm quickly going to go through it. The SAICE IT division has 2 bank accounts. So basically there's a business account and there's a call account. Currently, the balance in our business account is 546 Rand and 81 cents. As you can see, the statement reflects payments made for services and for services rendered by admin, and also for bank charges. And also reflecting in this month's statement is the prize for the ESCOM Young Scientist Awards. So the total debits and service fees amounted to about 9,846 Rand and 3 cents for this month. You will notice there's some credits in this statement, which you will see is debited from our call account. So our call account balance is sitting at 217,760 and 58 cents. As I said earlier, there's some transfers, 17 and 83, to the current account to cover the prize giving and also to cover admin fees. Interest received for the month of October was 1,429 and 6 cents. When looking at our income statement, our income has improved when compared to in the prior year. There's been improvement of 15%. However, our expenses has also increased by 26%. In doing so, we ended up in a net surplus of 11,266, which is about 1,916 Rand less than we did last year. Moving on to the next slide. So this is just a snapshot of outstanding debtors to date for admin support. And going on to the balance sheet, this basically indicates our assets, current assets, which sits at 218,307. It's made up of our 2 bank accounts, our call account and our business account. And when it comes to the movement is attributed to interest on the call account, both received and paid. And on the business account, it accounts for the service fees, bank charges, the recent prize giving award for the ESCOM Young Scientist, and the admin support fees that was paid for this month. So as it stands, we're sitting at 218,307. It's not a large purse that we have at the moment, but we are utilizing it really efficiently. Over the next year, hopefully we can run a few more training programs and generate a bit more income other than the income we get from SAICE. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Given, just share my screen. So thank you, Kevin, for that. Just take note that our finances that we're getting in is all dependent on members. So that's why one of the reasons why we'd like to grow as well, so that we can do more things, if I can say it that way. So in any case, so let's go further. So from a marketing and communication point of view, so I just want to get my screen here sorted. We do have, as a SAICE division, we do have a website, so you can visit it, and also a Facebook and LinkedIn, where we post basically some of our communications, our presentations, and also links of previous presentations, which is still relevant. And you can access that from our YouTube account as well. So from there on, if we look at the committee for 2025, the committee members from 2024, which is remaining, is myself, Marius, Peter, Cuban, Debbie, and William. We had received a nomination for David, and we also open, if there's any members that would like to serve on the committee, please send your details forward. So from the committee members and their roles, at the moment, I will be the chairperson and the council representative. Vice chairman will be Marius. Past chair is Peter Webb. Treasurer will be Cuban as well for the next year. We're still looking for an under 36 representative. And then Debbie is also our administrator. And the others will be a supporting role. So I think from the AGM, that's all that I have from my side. I'll try to not keep it too long because I would like to go to the presentation and have some interaction. Is there any questions from anyone? Let me quickly have a look. There's no questions in the Q&A and also not in the chat. Okay, can I get some reactions, thumbs up, waves? That's just telling me that I'm not alone, please. Okay. Getting some reactions, so I'm not alone. Okay, so that's good. You can put on, if you feel you can put on your screen, you would like me to see you and have that interaction. It will make me feel a little bit not alone, if I can say it like that. Let me cancel this presentation. Is there anything one of the other committee members would like to share or to say? I see we do have a hand. Rain Demo. Okay, the hand is down. So that was just a reaction. So that's fine. Thanks. Any comments or anything from you, Cuban, Marius, anyone? Nothing? Okay. So before I start, I would like you guys to we'll have some Q&A questions or polls in the presentation, and it's all about Mentimeters. So please pull your phones a little bit closer, make sure you've got some access to the internet on your phone, and then we'll tackle it. So today's presentation is all about equipping staff for the digital future, and I think we'll tackle a few topics. I'll try not to talk too much and listen a little bit more, but let's see how it goes. So the agenda is we'll do an introduction, the influences, the process, the need, the learning culture, learning landscape, leadership, and capabilities. Then we'll have a Q&A, but please ask questions as we go along as well, and if I see them, I'll answer them as well. So I like using this slide. The future belongs to those who can hear it coming, because you need to position yourself. You need to know where we're going and what is coming, so that we as individuals and as companies can plan to be in the right position. So from an infrastructure point of view, I think we all have seen nice pictures, and we've seen infrastructure. Let me just get my pointer right. So we've seen infrastructure and modeling becoming more and more to the forefront. And in terms of connected devices, we've seen the IoT aspects and information being basically connected. And from there, we see that technology is starting to play quite a bit of a role in our infrastructure and our infrastructure needs. And then also from a designing point of view, software has been developed. Software becomes more complicated and more intriguing. So how do we position ourselves for an engineering point, incorporating this digital transition, if I can call it that way, of our engineering aspects? So this is where the first question comes in. Now, I think it was 2018 or 2019, this was the 10 influences in the infrastructure, technologies that will influence the civil engineering aspects. And my question to you is, which one of these have you guys actually used? So this is where you can go, you can scan the QR code, you can log into Menti, and you can use the code on the top, and you guys can start voting. Which ones of these have you used in your engineering career? Let me quickly get the poll here as well. I don't see anybody voting yet. Are you guys coming right with it? Okay. Let's see. I think my license that I've got currently will only allow around about 50 votes, but let's see how it goes. So as we can see, 7 wireless monitoring connected equipment is quite high. 1 prefabrication. Come on, we're 140 on the call. We can't have 80. We need to be like 15, very quick. So from this, I can see cloud and real-time collaboration. Sorry about that. My boy came in. I just had to excuse him. So we can see from what we've got here is there's a lot of guys that has worked with cloud real-time collaborations. Now, this slide was 2019 before COVID. I think COVID has excelled or pushed us into the real-time collaboration. I can do that. If you guys want to scan it, I can scan it here as well. So if it comes to the first slide, these things was projected, and we can see that everybody has started to use it. Yes, 3D printing is not something that is very, it's not used that much in our industry. If I look at autonomous construction, also not that much. Augmented reality, that's been used quite a bit. And then, of course, building information, which we're all actually trying to work with. So I'm going to continue with the presentation. You can still continue in voting all those things, and we'll come back to it. So that just gives an indication of what has been used. And we as engineers, we always say that, yeah, we're too busy. I don't have time for training, maybe next year. And we all use this excuse, but we need to train ourselves to be ready for the future and what is required from us as engineers. We've always done this way, and yeah, the clients are happy. I don't see why we need change to change it. Now, I've seen this question or this statement quite a bit in discussion with engineers in our environment, and I think yes, there's a focus on business as well. And yeah, if the client is happy, why should I change? That's basically what they're saying. So great that we have improving our ways of working, but it's not applicable to me. I hear that quite a bit as well, and I don't think these are statements we want to run after, and we need to be satisfied with. We need to have a new mindset, and if we want new results and we want the same things, we can do what we're doing now, or we all want development. We all want to move forward. We all want asset management in the sense of our infrastructure maintained. And if we want all to do all these things, we have to do certain things. Now, you may ask me, what does asset management to do with all this? If you look at technology and all those things makes our engineering life better. And we need to look at two things, developing CAPEX projects and OPEX projects, of course. So are we ready for these things, right? Now, from a technology, in the Deloitte, there was a study done, and if you can have a look at organizations that in embracing tech leads to the competitive advantage, meaning that they're more competitive, and you'll see that 66% is saying yes, technology has that capability to give them that competitive edge. Over the next 3 years, my organization plans to invest in our data capabilities. 73% of that study said they do. Improve customer experience, cyber defense, that's cyber security, technology skills of our workforce, focusing on our skills, invest in artificial intelligence. And as we can see, the engineering companies are looking towards it. And yes, there's a large amount in this study, which was international first world countries, but it doesn't matter, it's coming this way as well. From a study, Future Jobs report in 2023, you can see 81% said they will invest in learning and training on the job and accelerate the automation of processes. Now, into automation of processes is digitalization, where you look at your processes. Now, you as an engineer need to look at your processes, because you can't do repetitive work all the time. The market doesn't allow for it. So we need to move into these things. So if we look at this report that was done as well, from a government, public sector and infrastructure, increased adoption and broadening digital skills from a macro trends, impact of macro trends, it will have an impact on us. Yes, first world country first, we will come afterwards. If we look at impact of technology adoption into jobs, is digital platforms, education for workforce for technologies, big data analysts, cloud computing, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence. These things will play a huge role in the future. And it will impact you where you're sitting. Sorry. So we need to be actively involved. And I think I mentioned in another presentation, I think artificial intelligence or computer science specifically will play a major role in our engineering environment. And I think that gap needs to be bridged. The teams, if the future, needs to have data science included, because it's a specialist trait, but that will influence our engineering environment. So if I look at the process, we've discussed a little bit on the need for it, if I can say it like that. And I hope you guys understand why I'm saying there's a need for it. And if you don't see it, you'll see it in people excelling and people moving forward in certain things. Their productivity is better, and you'll see it slowly but surely. You'll see that. So I want to go into a little bit on the process and how we do the process in our digital skills and equipping our staff for digital skills and all that things. Is we first need to build from the bottom, digitization. We all use PDFs, and our client wants drawings in hard copy and everything, but how do we as engineers start digitizing our information to make processes easier? Because the next step will be, after you digitize it, to digitalization, where you optimize your processes, your design processes, parametric design, generative design, all these things are coming and it's moving, and we have to be keeping up. So we have to do the digitization of our processes. So we need to up our skills in data management, in how we do our things. And then, of course, at the end, digital transformation will be the last step that will happen. Those things will happen. Designing won't be same as always. So from a process point of view, and everybody needs to understand that information management, or BIM as we're saying, is, and the ISO 19650 is the standard or the guidelines which help us in organization digitization, meaning creating our analog information into digital information in a structured way that we can utilize it in our processes. And yes, it starts with our clients asking the right questions over the whole life cycle of our assets and how do we use it. And in your project information, what do you need to create for the organization or the asset information? So if I go a little bit into detail in information delivery process or the cycle, we know we get a brief, the concept, definition, design, we build it and we hand over, and we're all very familiar with this. But in terms of information creation or data creation, what do we create? What do we hand over into the operation of the asset information process? What does the client need to manage their assets? Is it non-graphical, graphical information, documentation? What do you use in that last step? And that is the biggest step if it comes to an asset, is the operational aspect. That's where the most value comes out. Now, in this process, the employee needs to actually say what information is required. And we as engineers, we usually tackle this and we say basically what needs to be delivered in information so the client can actually manage its assets. But we need to know how we can digitize it to optimize the processes so that we can get infrastructure which is better maintained. And I know it's a big word, and I can almost hear it, everybody's on mute, saying, it won't happen. But it needs to happen. And each one of us is basically the key to it, and driving this and making sure we ask the questions. If the employee information requirements, the execution plan, all these things are not in place, you ask the question to the client, what is their needs for their operational phase? And then we start with small little steps moving to this direction. Yes, of course, I'm not going to go into this detail. This is more detail, but there's decision points from the client and from information exchange purposes. And how does the information look and what's the format? But those things we as engineers need to understand so that we can be savvy enough to get it done. We can't work the old ways on doing this. So my next question or mentee thing is, do your company, you or your company, implement the ISO 19650? Meaning, do you digitize your information? And it is yes, we are accredited as a company, yes, no, and I don't know what you're talking about. So please, guys, have a look at this. Let me quickly see if I've got. So this was the previous one. Let's see what happens to this one. Let's just quickly have a look. So while you guys are voting, there's some 2 comments basically in the chat. And I really like the chat, although I like the questions. Licensing for software is quite expensive and it plays a huge role. there is a drive, and one of the presentations that we want to do is open data, open software exchange, and the Building Smart is an entity driving that, is specifically for that, to break down these monopoly that companies have in the software area. So that is being addressed. Also, that we need to volunteer for that, and we need to assist them in doing those things. The big organization, Building Smart, you can Google it. I also like the other question, or the other point, is fossil fuel has to come to an end. We all know that, of course, and the IT will play a huge role in the future. And I think that is definitely the case here. Yes, expert professionals, all those things, definitely. So I like your comment. Let me just see who's the name. It's a guest, unverified, so I don't know who it is. So let's have a look. So there's 8 people that don't know. There's others that don't apply it. There's some that applies it. There's some companies that is accredited, which is good. I think 3 years ago, these figures will be quite a bit different. And I think there's a lot of industry partners or boards or NPOs that is driving this narrative to help. Okay, so let's continue. Where's my presentation? Okay. So why is my presentation not continuing? So a question that we need to ask, and it might still be there, is there really a need for us to change? And I think everything that has passed is some evidence for it. So from there, I want to show a little bit of a study that was done, also taking a little bit back, not a 2024, but in terms of 2019. And the reason why I go a little bit back, just a little bit of information about that, is because we're running a little bit behind the curve in a South African context. I think this data is a little bit more relative to South Africa, if I can say it like that. But nonetheless, let's have a look. You can see that 80% has got slightly familiar with big data. In terms of Internet of Things is also low. Augmented reality is low. You can see mobile technology is a little bit better in terms of familiar, because we all use our cell phones, right? Sensor-based is also a little bit better in terms of utilization. So you can see there's a bit of a gap in terms of the utilization in students or the future engineers to come. So in terms of BIM software, you can see there's some experience in BIM software. GIS overall is quite a familiar software in terms of graphic information systems. It's a very good base to work on. And you can see there's quite experience in terms of construction management and collaborative software. From database software, you will see that it's a similar aspect, that there's a huge skills gap in the students coming into the market. And so data analytics a little bit better, programming Excel is a bit better, but programming software is a little bit lower again. And you can see that there's a little bit of a gap in the study where you see the students of the future. Do they have the right skills coming into the marketplace, or do we need to train them in the marketplace? And those two things plays a huge role in the engineering environment. Because we all know, if a junior comes into your company and you're a mentor, and he's got certain skills like the ones that I presented, they excel quite quickly because they've got better ways of doing their work. Programming, specifically Python, all those type of things. What I've seen in the discussions that I've done, people are, or they've done a training course in programming, but they haven't utilized it. And that is my next question. My next question to you is, how much do you use it? How much do you use big data? How much do you use Internet of Things? So the first slide was, have you used it? But now the question is, how much do you use it in your day-to-day engineering environment? So please put your votes, if I can put it that way. Let me just look for my Menti. So let's see, and I lost the people. I hope it's big enough. I think it's a bit small. Let me just see, I see there's a comment. Does everybody have the same issue?
Christopher, I can see it clearly on my side.
I see Breda from Stellenbosch cannot see. Are you coming on? So if you scan the Menti QR code or you go to menti.com and you print the code in, the questions will be there, and then you can vote or say how much do you use it. So from what I'm getting from this is programming on MS Excel. I think we all use that, and in some sense. Mobile technologies, I think we all use when we go to site, we take pictures, GPS coordinates, we start gathering our information. Augmented reality, it's kind of expected because the value is not seen in our industry, in my opinion, of course. Data analytics, not that much. So Internet of Things, that's good. So I need to get in contact with these guys that's got Internet of Things and see if we can do a presentation on that. So please don't run away and hide. But this gives you an idea. I think this gives us an idea of the utilization of this. And from our past experience working in a first world country specifically, there's teams that's only doing this and only using programming and big data aspects and looking at transformation and new ways of generating business and how to optimize processes. There's a whole innovation team pushing forward on these things, and it's required. I don't think it's not required, it is required, and it will pull the market forward. So okay, let's continue. Every time I need to jump a bit. I think I've mentioned this a little bit before, but I just want to draw your attention to it as well. Do you think we need these skills in engineering? I didn't put a question of Menti up, but in terms of what I've experienced is to bridge the gap in our digital aspects is we as engineers need to know the basics of what data engineers, a data analyst, a data scientist, and a machine learning engineer does, and what is the benefits, what they can do. Because once we utilize them, the skills or our work becomes quite easy and beneficial. To give a bit of an idea, I want to give a quick example in terms of experience that I had is the engineer had some programming skills and Python skills and everything and used MATLAB, and we tried to utilize scanned data to build models in terms of pulling out the alignment of a road, the cross-section of the road, the super elevation of the road, and the engineers struggled to build these things, and we struggled for about 2-3 weeks. We got a data engineer in, or data science scientist in 2 days. They did it for us. they utilized that information, and we got new information or better information out of our scanned data. And that is helping us to bridge that gap, or the digital skills gap that we have. But we need to know that we can utilize somebody else to do that. Just a little bit of a quick example. So furthermore is, if you look at other countries in terms of how they address these things, is in terms of the UK, they've got a national digital twin program where the skills and competency framework and what they require for going forward in terms of digital twins, information management. We know UK has got BIM as a mandatory thing in the construction environment. Is how do they then create this competency framework to create these roles or positions, if I can say it like that. So if you look at this, they've got business skills and digital skills, which they started to combine. And if you look at the two trees, if I can call it trees, in terms of skills, is data collection and management, data literature, generation. These data fundamentals we all need. And I think we do have a bit of it, but the technology and the ways that we do it is drastically changing, and also the digital skills to change it and do these type of things. But these are skills that you require. Data modeling, how do you do these type of things? How do you link it? What is your security, data security aspects that we need to address? So these are skills that will be required if we take this journey. These are the typical roles that they've identified, from a data architect, data consumer, data custodian, and you'll see there is a big thing in the industry saying, but AI and digital and technology will take away job creations or take jobs away, but we need to realize that it will create more jobs. If you look at all the industry, how machines took over and how there's industrial revolution take over, there's job creation in terms of that, and it's a similar process that will happen in these things. So from this, they actually created some roles. Now, a data consumer is somebody like us, say, for instance, and you'll see you need a bit of business and digital skills, data fundamentals. You need a little bit of a security ethics. How does it work? And all these collaboration skills. And in this study or framework, you'll see what is the role, the skills requirement per role. It goes into quite a bit of detail, so you guys can have a look at it and upskill yourself, if I can say it like that. So this is now, we've done a lot of background and needs analysis, if we can call it like that, in terms of this. But based on what we've done, we always sit with one issue in all these talks about digital transformation and things like that, is the human challenge, right? And the change management of that needs to happen. So if we look at it, I've broken it down in this presentation in the learning culture, the learning landscape, the leadership requirements, and the capability development of the individual. Now, if we look at the learning culture, what is the learning culture that is out there? We always look at the people, and if we look at the people, we understand that to achieve a person to learn, there is adult learning and there's also a normal youngster coming in, and the goal of adult learning is a little bit different, and the skills is a little bit different, and the way that they learn is a little bit different. But at the end, what we need is people need to change, they change in understanding, and then they change in belief system and how to approach us, and we have to change, and then the actions will change. And that is in terms of what I would like to achieve in one sense with the presentation, is you need to change your mindset and understanding what we need to go and where we need to go as engineers. We need to change our belief systems, and then we will change our actions. So also, furthermore, from information that I got from SAICE Academy, is these four things plays a huge role in the factor of people and their behavior. And you'll see from a genetics, the brain, how that person is put together, from the social aspect, from the emotional, the stress, the coping, the self-esteem, and the social dimension as well. From what house do they come? All these things plays a role in people developing. And of course, if you go into a little bit more details, demographics, age issue, all these roles and things factors plays a role in how they learn. And we don't always realize it, and we don't always see this, but we say this guy should learn. But do we always realize that a person is different in learning? And I think we always need to keep this in mind as well when we do learning and we do mentorship, of course, as well. So from a change management, the journey that we all go through in terms of we need to get aware of what needs to change, the nature of the change. We desire it and we want to do it, but then the knowledge to get it, to get ourselves training and do it, and then get the ability to do it, and then we need to reinforce it. So we all go through this process, and this is Prosky or ATCA is a model that is used to guide or give us a sense of where we are on this journey. And I'll show some as well. Some other is the Kirkpatrick model. There's reaction, learning, behavior, result. So these are all models to give us guidance on how to prepare ourselves and where are we in the learning process and how do we take it forward. Furthermore, this is another way of seeing it, and we need to realize that as we become aware, we accept, we adjust, but our productivity goes down. So we as mentor roles on leadership or management need to understand that there is a productivity dip before there's a productivity enhancements, if I can say that way. So also from the adoption curve is we also need to know that there is also an adoption curve. You've got the early adopters, the guys that jumps to it. And what I've seen in my previous role as a digital transformation lead in a company, a corporate company, is there's about, in that company, we're about 18%, which has taken this tech, has taken this methodology and ran with it. And what it does is it pulls the whole company forward, and then the guys that's a little bit later to adopt and get onto this, to go get over this curve and get implemented. So this is always something you need to keep in mind as well. Yes, there's softer skills as well that we need to keep our mind on, and those ones will become more and more relevant as well. So have a look at it, emotional intelligence and those type of things. We all need to have it, and it's improved according to the future of technology, Deloitte Insights. You'll see that there is a huge focus on these things as well. So those are skills we need to tackle internally for ourselves and as a company as well. So I know I talk a little bit about people and as a company, because I think we can look as an individual what we need to do, but we also need to look at a corporate company or an engineering environment as a whole. So if we take another step, is time management. We all know about time management, and I think we all did some courses on it, and you need to apply this in terms of upskilling yourself. You need to make sure that you say what is important, what is not important, but we need to balance work life with upskilling ourselves as a person. And there's many study courses out there on how to do it. And this is manage your tasks and your goals. What is important? Go to bin. Do you give it to somebody else to do? When do you want to do it? And you need to stick to it. You need to plan your week, and you need to dedicate yourself to a certain section of upskilling yourself. And that's very important in terms of growing your skill sets. So how do you do this, and how do you go forward and upskill yourself? Now that's the learning landscape, and how do you do that? Now there's many ways of doing it. As an individual, you need to tackle it, but also as a company or as an organization, as SAICE, IT specifically, one of our goals is to educate and to do webinars, to tell people about the technologies and the new ways that's out there. So our approach and our view is continuous learning is viewed as the most important element for changing the workforce. And we've seen that's from a McKinsey report in terms of always keeping that top of mind, continuous learning. Where are we going? What is the goals? And that is very important. So in terms of that, we do take cognizance of the fact that what we're doing today is we're probably showing maybe to 20% that what you'll remember on it, but I hope it unlocks something that you'll take the next step. And this is basically the learning pyramid. So you need to teach others and practice what we're doing, right? So continuous learning intervention from a corporate point of view, you can tackle it by doing learning weeks. We've done, my previous company that I was at, we do a global learning weeks, bite-sized, peer-to-peer, fun, creative, and awareness. We do specific training courses for open standards and which can help deliverable digital tools. So we do these type of bite-sized things, and we push these trainings so that the whole culture changes and the landscape changes from how people do training. This is an initiative that was also done, is a level up session or a lunch session. And I think everybody has spoken is by people sharing what they've done. And this can be digital transformation, digital skills gap, any skills gap, showing what you've done, quick sessions, showing what you've done, get the conversation going, get connected and grow. So online platforms, if it comes to these things, there's quite a lot. From the top, you can see there's online learning platforms, LinkedIn Learning, there's a huge amount of learning material in there. Pinnacle Steerance and Knowledge Smart is a very good, we'll look at a use case that was used for these two specifically. Autodesk and Bentley, of course, is software which will lock you in a way, but also very good training courses. And then these ones at the bottom is each one has got a different focus point, what you want to learn. Now, you as an individual can go to each one of these things and have a look. Some of them got cost as well, but go and have a look, see what training you can do. But you need to put yourself and say what you want to achieve, and then you can actually bridge the gap. So typical content, and in a lot of these ones at the top specifically, not so much LinkedIn Learn, is these type of things which everybody uses. Microsoft, Bentley in the engineering environment, of course, Autodesk and all these things, Revesto for clash detection, say for instance, Rhino and Grasshopper for parametric design. These are things and skill sets that is used in that learning platforms to help you. And we'll have a look at the learning cases. There's learning paths and there's ways that you can upskill yourself. Before we go a little bit further to the use cases, let's have a look at the leadership specifically. But let me just quickly, before we continue, see if there's any comments or questions. There's no questions specifically. There's something in the chat. University face significant challenges. How do they prepare students for the digital environment? Which marketing? I think that's one of the presentations and the sections that I've shown as well. That's definitely something that takes more, needs more focus. I think we'll address these things a little bit later in a little bit detail. So let's continue. In terms of leadership, and I'm talking to the individual now, but we need to understand that everybody of us is a leader or a manager or a mentor to some degree. There's a person learning from us, and we need to understand these principles that I'm showing is not only to say that it's my boss that needs to do that, but everybody of us needs to have that culture or that leadership character. So from a leadership versus management, I think there's a lot written on that. And I think if we look at this side, leadership and management, in my opinion, and that's my opinion, is we need leadership and management. We don't need managers, we need leaders, but that is a different point of view. And I think we need to distinguish between these two. You get managers and you get leaders, and you get management and leadership. And we need to focus on, we as an individual need to have a leadership law. And I think this leadership law is basically thinking of the reactions that you would like, and not only, sorry, let me start over. Think first of the reactions that you would like, and only then think of the actions that you should take to achieve them. So that's the management of how you manage people, and you need to make sure that you focus on that. And there's a book in terms of leadership. I think I took this out of the book, Do Nothing. And do nothing sounds like you do nothing, but it's how to manage. Now, from this is you as a leader need to focus on them, focus on the individual. You need to ask questions, what they need to learn, to listen to the perspective of your team members and people around you that will help you grow and help you to be a leader. Follow leadership law, of course, as we said. You need to actively listen and get on the balcony, walk the floor, know what's going on the ground. And I think as leaders and managers, it is a bit of an issue. When you're in a management position, you should not be a manager, you should be a leader and listen as well. And these things are critical for us to learn. And I don't think everybody focuses on these things. We always talk about the individual, but we need leadership to get learning going. So as a leader, once you focus on these things, you can take the next step and identify your skills gap that you require. From what skills do you require from an individual and a teammate or a mentee? What is the skills gap? And then from there, you can say, okay, fine, we can tackle the next one. What is the requirements to grow? So this is an example of skill sets that we looked at in my previous employer, and looking at basically their grading, what are their management, what is their qualifications, what is their job description, what is their age gap, and what do they use to actually learn. And then you can see they've used quite a bit of LinkedIn Learn specifically. Tracking the trends in terms of what do they use and putting a KPI in a company for training is also very useful in learning. And these things needs to be applied. Put yourself as an individual, what do you want to achieve, and monitoring and manage it as an individual and as a company. So now it comes to the capability. So we've addressed the learning culture, the learning environment, where we're in the landscape, leadership, but now the capabilities, which is more specific to the person. If we look at an approach, and I think it is applicable to a company and to individual. I usually like using a tree because it grows and it bears fruit, and then in this case, fruit in terms of success and engineering capability, the capability of practicing what we need to do. So every individual's got personal goals, but we need to realize that there is goals of a company or industry, or it needs to align, and see if you align to that, because it doesn't help you go down the wrong path. You need to get the knowledge as an individual. What knowledge do you need? What skills gaps do you have? What technology is out there that you can utilize to do your project or make your work easier or upskill yourself? Create a learning path for yourself. Create a learning path of what you want to achieve. And as a company, with your manager or your mentor, create your learning path. And then you need to assess. And I think sometimes we miss the assessing. We miss assessing ourselves and what is our capability so that we can take the future. Right? Now, what we've done in this case study is we've created learning paths per functional role. And a functional role is basically what you do in your company. And we like to do not titles, but functional role, what you do. And from that, you create a roadmap. And from your roadmap, what do you need from a foundational assessment? So try to assess yourself. There's nice assessment tools out there as well. You need to score yourself. You need to identify your skills gap. You need to do your foundation training. You need to reassess. You need to advance. You do your software assessment. Also, same thing, skills gap, and then your software training. And you'll see that you need some foundation assessment. You'll need training, software training. There's always a bit of a foundation before you go to software. So this gives you an idea of a snapshot that we've taken earlier from the development when we implemented information management in terms of that, and we utilized knowledge march, which is assessment and Pinnacle series. So from this, you can see this is a snapshot of assessments done, say, for instance. And I've played a little bit with the figures and all those type of things, just for privacy, if I can say it that way. But if you've got a BIM lead and a digital lead, and you'll see that they've scored quite low in the implementation of information, digitization of information. Remember, that's ISO 19650, and you'll see the average is low. You see you've got a bit of a problem in terms of your skills gap that you've got in your company, and you know that what you need to do to actually get those skills up. Otherwise, you're building not on a data or information, a standard or digitization, a standard data structure. And then you have problems later on. So typical training tags from this learning path, which was done in this software or program platform, it identifies basically learning gaps like a BIM coordinator. These are the learning gaps that was ticked. A common data environment, what was from a project delivery manager or information author and all. So it shows you what is the gaps in terms of your staff. Now it's looking from a corporate point of view, not to say, listen, you're not performing, but to say how we can help the staff to actually bridge that gap and move on our digitalization, the process and the performance of our staff. So from the feedbacks that was given from this use case, now I've used a little bit of information from the previous and studies that I've got from the platform is feedback, and people saying, okay, fine, utilizing the ISO and this platform, I'm starting to understand what we're trying to achieve. And it's not a test. I've got a better view. It's motivating me. It is bite-sized aspects that I can achieve. Bite-sized training. So from the above, you can see that the continuous process, which we said is continuous learning. This is basically one of the learning paths is the implementation of BIM. You've got a skills gap. You go through the global BIM standards and you do a reassessment until your skills, your capability is above 80%, which pushes you forward that you can do the Revit fundamentals or AutoCAD fundamentals or civil design. It depends on what software you use. And then you do that type of training until you've got to a certain skills level of application, not only theory. Then you go to the advanced, and through that you keep track of your progress as an individual or as a corporate company, your team, and then you can grow and move forward. So to tackle it again, what I've showed before, you create a learning path, assessment, scoring, skills gap, training. Those are the building stones or things you need as an individual to grow and achieve your target. So yeah, basically 81 and the target is 90. So always keep that in mind how you tackle it. So in summary, to summarize everything that I've said is, we know we need to digitize our information. We need to digitalization in terms of our process, work smarter and better, and digital transformation will come, and it's something that's in our industry. But we as an individual, we need to have our personal goals. We need to tackle our knowledge, technology, learning path, and keep ourselves assessing, making sure we can do it. I know from personal experience, doing a training program or on programming, Python specifically, doing the basics of it, but I'm not utilizing it. So yes, I'm upskilling myself in a skill, but is it applicable to me and my personal goals? Yes, I'm not going to utilize that in my current role, but is it applicable in my current role? It's not. So you need to know what you need to train as well, and that is all personal goals and your learning path. So I think that is from everything that I would like to say. Let me just have a look. I think that is it all. So yeah, thank you. I'm gonna quickly have a look at the presentation or the questions in the chat. I'm gonna, let me drag this to what I'm sharing so everybody can see what I'm looking at. Let me see, quickly go down. Okay, maybe this question, customer relationship management tools in engineering. I'm not sure you specifically, you can maybe unmute yourself or just put your hand that we can unmute you. In terms of customer relationship management, is it in terms of business development, interacting with your client, getting intelligence of what projects are coming, things like that? Are you talking about those type of things? Where is Merendini? I hope I pronounce it right. Don't see. Okay, let's unmute quickly here. Allow mic. You can unmute yourself now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Yes. Thanks. Yes, that's exactly what I meant. I see that you have all sorts of other platforms, but you didn't include the business process sort of automation route and interacting with your customers. Where does that fit in this whole picture?
The thing is, you need to understand from a person, not everybody interacts with the client. Yes, your junior does, and there needs to be, what we've done is we try to create an app where if you go to a client, you just capture basically, I've seen the client and this is what I've discussed. And that is captured into your CRM, your client relationship management tool, and then your account manager, if I can call it your account manager, can have a look what was the interaction, and that type of intelligence you can utilize and build some visual aspects on it, and data analytics and all those things. So there's definitely a place in it, but I didn't feel I need to focus on that. Looking at engineering, civil engineering, plain civil engineering, but there's definitely a place for it, and it needs to be improved so that we understand our clients. So big corporate companies are utilizing that, definitely.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Good. Thanks for that question. So let's go a little bit further. I'm going to try to read that. If my tongue twists, sorry about that. Universities face a significant challenge. How do they prepare students for this digital environment, which is multifaceted and complex, while still providing the fundamentals of engineering training to their students? I would argue that universities must prioritize the fundamentals of engineering first, then try to find mechanisms to expose students to digital tools and techniques such that the student can equip themselves with tools that may make the most sense for the engineering career path. Would advanced courses on specific aspects of digital delivery not make sense? So that is a very valid point that you're stating there, and I utilize my experience specifically. When I look at, I was in the Netherlands for about 2-3 years, and the students and the graduates that came out of the universities and those things were so much better equipped than the South African environment. And it's not always about the training course and the advanced training course, but it's the practical utilization of it. It is expected to use certain digital tools in the way that you do your projects, your assessments, data collection, certain skill sets in all those things are applied. And I think that is the biggest issue we sit with, is the applying of these digital tool sets. So yes, they need to integrate it, not specific courses, but integrate it. But before you can integrate it, you always need to have a professor and everybody that is digital savvy in any case as well to integrate that. But they need to ask that question. So I 100% agree with that. So let's quickly go. If there's any. Oops. Why is this thing jumping around all the time? Yeah, I don't share. Teams view, focus on the content, solve the problem. Would you like to expand on that, Breda? You can just put your hand up, then we can find you if we need to unmute you. If you don't want to, that's fine as well. Here we go. Allow mic. Now you can unmute yourself.
I just had a problem that the PowerPoint or whatever presentation was very small. Then I clicked on this option here, which says, or the view option, which says focus on content, and that solves the problem. So it might be my skills of Microsoft Teams is not that good.
Okay, noted. Thanks. Okay. There were some comments on the comments above, which is, I think it's essential for university to strike a balance. Too much focus on tools might dilute core learning, while too little could leave graduates unprepared for the workplace. That is 100% true. Let's just see, there's some questions as well. Fully agree with them. Higher education should collaborate, shape the future upcoming generation. The careers which offered the university should be reviewed because we need more engineers, scientists, environmentalists, climate change specialists, AI specialists. Yes, all of these ones, these experts should assist in moving away from fossil fuels, moving towards wind, solar, and everything. Okay, that's true. I'm not going to argue there is a huge complexity thing coming, which we need to address in the engineering environment. So yeah, let's see, is there any other questions? Anybody want to put up their hand, ask a question? Did the presentation help to give you a little bit of an idea where to go? I'll also share in the chat the Menti thing so that you guys can have a look at it afterwards. I'll add it in the presentation which will be shared, and also it will be put on our YouTube channel and also shared on LinkedIn so you guys can have a look at it and have a view on it. So if there's no questions, nothing, then we can probably close. No questions? No comments? Thanks. I'm glad that okay, you can unmute yourself, Tykes. So hopefully it's a conversation that's continuing.
Hi, Christopher. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm following up on our branch sort of presentation on Friday, which was very good. Thank you very much. It was an eye-opener, specifically on asset management and CRM. How are the two sort of interlinked between customer relationship asset, because that's a big issue in our country right now, is asset management. And to bring client relationships closer to asset management is becoming more and more of a challenge to try and convince client bodies when you involve engineers from inception. How do you bring asset management into the fold, into the life cycle? Although it wasn't a life cycle, for somehow we've decided to omit it in our entire design process, unlike the rest of the world. So you know, that's for me still remains a challenge, and I know I pondered on it last week Friday, but just from this forum, what is your take on that?
So Tykes, just for clarity, to make sure that the question you're asking, you're saying client interaction from an asset management point of view is you're talking about the users, meaning like the water users in the municipality. You're talking about that.
Correct. Yeah.
That one. The thing is, there's a lot going on there. If I look at, let's use South African examples, is pothole eradication. There's already apps taking pictures of potholes and linking that information to a platform. Is that information used is the problem. So there's many ways. Smart cities is a basic concept where you bring your user, your customer, your client from a municipality or whatever, very much closer to you as an asset manager, because the information is at your fingertips. Usage, complaints, everything is there. And you as a decision maker, as an asset owner, can utilize that information to make the right decision in terms of pushing it to your client, which is your user. So that is there. The technology is there. It's used everywhere. And it's even used in some municipalities that I've seen in South Africa that is utilized. It's there.
The challenge I have with that, Christopher, is that a lot of that information vests with PSPs. And knowing in this environment, if a PSP doesn't get paid, the information doesn't filter through and you start the process again. So it's got to happen from a different level, you know, to manage this.
Now, the thing is, that is true. I'm not going to argue that if the asset owner or the client is not utilizing and it's sitting with a PSP, it's a bit of a problem because it's money down the drain in one sense. The thing is, I've seen a lot of good initiatives, specifically in the Western Cape, that I've seen from vehicle transport delays all over. The whole city of Cape Town has implemented an app, as if I don't have it wrong, where you can utilize these type of things and share information. And I think they do use it. But I don't have a very good view on it. And that might be a very good opportunity. We need to get in contact with them and say, what are you using it for and how can you use it for, and maybe do a presentation for us to see how it interacts.
Yeah, I think where I'm going to with this, and I was hoping you could touch on it, is that SAICE as an organization, I mean, being closer to public sort of in the whole 3 tiers, we should use that initiative to drive the process, because then it's a body, it's not a PSP, where information like that is a custodian of. And that's where I would like to see the SAICE initiatives go towards, is to be able to drive that process so we can get there.
Yeah, no, that's definitely valid. The thing is, your problem sits with the next question is, who's the owner of the, and I know you might not see it, but the data. And you said PSP sits with the data. And that's a mentality which is wrong from the PSPs, is the data is mine because I've done it. The more you share data and the more data is open, the more utilization of it is. And that is something that I would really like to promote from a client, government, also from SAICE, in terms of sharing information. And I'm 100% on board. That is something that we need to drive as SAICE, as EXA, as CISA, as all these bodies needs to drive it. And I mentioned Building Smart, which is a very big promoter of open data and open source, because then it stimulates such things. But yeah, then your data privacy and things can be as well. So I'm with you, Tux. I'm with you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Anybody else? Nothing. Okay, thanks everyone. I appreciate your time. We can close the meeting, and I hope you enjoy your Tuesday afternoon.